I got there at 8. Couldn't get the door. I'll tell you later. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Let me make that a little bit louder. Good afternoon. I call this meeting to order. Finance Committee, May 6, 2024. I will lead us in the pledge today, and Commissioner Winters will say the blessing. If you would, please stand. And salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Now we pray. Father, we thank you for a beautiful day today. Even through the rain, we see the sun shining. Thank you for a weekend that's been so exciting for our universities and now for the week coming up, our high schools. Send their graduates off to their next challenge in life. Pray blessings on those graduates, both graduated today are also to be graduated this week. Thank you for this committee, what we have before us today. Minds be clear and we do what you'd have us do at this Christ's
name. Amen. Thank you very much. All right, going to our agenda, I'm going to change things around just a little bit. We have Melissa Woody here today. So if you'll look at your agenda, item B, I'm going to take that up there. And Stanley Thompson should be arriving here right after, so we can get that work done and they can stay or leave. Then we can come back to the amendments if that's all right. All right, with that said, item B, Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Development, Vice President Melissa Woody. Melissa, I asked Melissa to come here. We chatted, was it 4 or 5 months ago maybe, and Melissa has an idea that basically goes something like a study or Sports Authority or something like that. If the county would put in a certain amount, she would put in some out of her budget, and I believe the city as well. So with that, Melissa, I'll let you explain kind of to the committee what's going on with that.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Blake. Mylon and I have talked several times and over, I guess, the last couple of years about sports development and how we can enhance our sports offerings. And so he and I and Adam met with the city, and we were hoping that we could all go kind of in thirds to fund a study that would tell us where we need to concentrate our efforts on enhancing our local current offerings when it comes to sports, and then also where are some gaps that we are that we could possibly fit in. I mean, is there a potential crawdad gigging tournament that we could just right under our nose? And just that's of course a silly example, but is there something that we can develop that would fit us into a regional niche that's not being filled? And so I know that the city has been looking at possibly doing a study like this, and I really wanted to be able to get the county involved and us as a chamber involved, because there's really no point in talking about enhancing our sports offerings if we don't do it together. To me, that doesn't give the whole picture for the entity doing the study. So that's what I was hoping for. Mylon and I and Jonathan Job from the city think that it would possibly be around $30,000, so around $10,000 a piece. We don't have pricing yet, but we're pursuing companies to do this kind of work.
Thank you, Melissa. So I'll add one thing to that. Obviously, I think we all agree that we probably could do better with respects to events, sporting events, or something coming in. I chatted with also the person in Hamilton County. He actually lives here in Bradley County, but he works for Hamilton County. A lot of events that they have, they're getting bigger and they bring in more revenue. And Bradley County is kind of like the the spillover a little bit. So we just need to take advantage of that. Do we have the venues? Do we have the fields? Do we have the tracks? Do we have all that kind of stuff? I think this is a good idea. I know when we hear about studies, we're kind of like another study. But if it's done right, I think it will give us some direction and give us some guidance. And if it's split by 3 ways, that keeps the cost down. So those are my 2 cents on it, and we're getting ready for budget. Mayor, I would just on the part, I was thinking this would definitely fall under 172 community development. Instead of putting it out of the general fund, but wherever you think it would be that we could do that. But anyway, I asked Melissa here to give us an update and to answer any questions. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead. Commissioner Winters, please.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
I'm in the ballparks all the time now. I have grandkids, 6, 4 of them living here, and 5 of them live here in this town at all ages, 12-year-olds up through high school. And I applaud you for looking at this, because I do think there's a great venue that Bradley County, when we talk about the city wanting to expand and get people actually drawn to the city, then it's going to be sports that would do a lot of that. So I'm 100%. I think this would be a great first step to move at it. We see ball fields that look like Bradley High's football field in the baseball programs. We see hundreds of people at ballparks, glad to be there, excited about that. So baseball's where I live a lot of time, and other sports now. My boys are getting into football and doing all that stuff. But I applaud you for this. I think it's a great way to start, and look forward to it expanding further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. And Mr. Winters, what is the number one activity when you visit these fields, whether they be at home or whether they be away? You know what the number one activity is that you do?
Tell me.
Spend money. You spend money. I know that.
Yeah, he loves the concession stand.
That's
right.
right.
That's right.
That's
Just
right.
kidding.
You
Go
spend
fly.
money.
The restaurants.
Now
We
they
know all
take
the
credit
restaurants
cards.
do.
Just kidding.
We know, yeah,
And
right.
and rather than being, Mylan mentioned spilling over, and a lot of times what happens when we spill over for fields and activity for a neighboring community, we do host their tournaments or host their games, but we don't sometimes host their hotel rooms, their accommodations. They go back to the headquarters of that sporting event to stay and eat. We want them staying and eating here in our community. So that was a very good point. And also, in the past, when I have worked with folks bringing in sporting events, it is a lot of work. And this study could possibly identify ways to, partner and handle that kind of customer service that needs to be given to these folks that are coming in. It's a lot of resource that, a 1.5 person department, that's really all you'd be doing if you were attending to these sporting events. So it's I think that there's potential there for us to partner and have some resources for those folks and host them in a better way.
I agree. Mr. Alford?
I understand you said 30,000, 10,000 each.
I was thinking it'd come out of our 179
Yeah,
fund,
uh,
our capital.
Companies that do this, are you familiar with any of them that do something like this?
Yes, we have talked to one several years ago, and it was out of Atlanta. And then I think that Jonathan Job has contacted a couple of different candidates to be able to do this.
Do they do a facility study too when they do these?
Yes, they do an assessment of what we have and what the needs are to be able to enhance our ability to host. So yeah, they do an inventory of what we have as
And,
part of the study.
How long does that study usually last? Do you have any idea?
Mylan, did you get I would say
A year or two. I mean,
5 months.
5 months. This isn't going to happen overnight. I think that they do their time, do their homework, present their study back to Melissa and us and the city, and we have to decide, thumbs up, thumbs down, or how much of it we wanted to do. But this is a multi-year endeavor.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of studies either. I mean, they it's not on Melissa time. I just want to go do
Yeah.
stuff, but many times it gives us a standing on being able to, do partnerships, on being able to possibly get grants. And we're doing an art study right now that is just the groundwork to be able to get grants in the future. So it's just kind of the way you have to work.
Yeah, in order to attract the events, you got to talk to agents, you have to talk to booking people, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. We, from a finance point of view, anytime there's a chance to increase our revenue, Lori sent out the hotel motel report the other day. You saw that it's growing. It was, I think, the second largest month in this budget year I saw. So, and we have, I know, 2 new hotels coming online, if I believe.
Yes, with more down the pipe.
Yeah, so we're increasing our hotel, our room capacity and stuff like that. So anyway, I asked Melissa if she had a chance, some time to come by and speak to us and get this in front of the finance committee. The mayor's proposal is coming pretty soon, and then the finance committee and the full commission will finish up. I'd like to put this in the 24-25 budget if possible. So any other questions from Melissa?
Do we have anything like that in the budget for that already in that line item?
No, this will come out at 117. Mayor, I don't think we have anything like this. We have enough funding for it, but I don't think we have anything currently in there for it. Right now, I think the only thing that 172 does is pay our portion of the interfund loan.
One I'm making if we have money in there to put into something like this.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, if
So
I
that
may.
means it's hotel motel tax will be paying for it, because hotel motel tax pays for 172. Yes.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to also say that we have submitted, we worked with the BMX, Bradley BMX, to
That's right.
submit a national bid for a national and a regional event race there at BMX Bradley. And we have, from the chamber side, paid for a $30,000 pro gate that really elevates their ability to host something like that. So, and we talked with Mayor Davis about improvements on that park, and he's worked with them too. But I'm just so proud of this gate that we get to buy. It's being installed soon, and so that will definitely put them in more of a position to be able to host those national and regional events, and with the goal of supporting their track. So those kinds of events will support the track and attract more events and people who stay in our hotels and eat in our restaurants. So just a little side note of what this could lead to.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, beautiful thing.
Man, I didn't know you were all into BMX. It used to be you had a little string and 2 people would hold it
Yeah.
and say go.
Yeah.
Now they got to have a nice little track that lowers down and they all take off.
Pretty
And
good.
Yep.
in the first 10 minutes they crash. Just kidding. Anyway, thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, sir.
All right, so that's just an update on that. The next thing on the agenda, Stanley's here. Stan, if you'll come up, we're going to chat real quick. This time of the year, we get the excuse me, the appraisals numbers. If you'll go to page, let me scroll down. Mayor's already there because he doesn't have to scroll. Page 4, as it's written down at the bottom there. Everybody got it?
Yeah,
Yeah. And page 4. Right.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the number. So this is the 2024. You see the date there, April 24th, 2024. Commissioner Mason, are you there? You got Commissioner Alper. Make sure everybody's there. Mayor. All right. So Stanley provides this at the last week of April every year. And basically what we do is we look at last year's and then we look at this year's, and you can see the total assessment that Stanley has there 3,193,712,705. That's the total assessment for Bradley County as a whole. And then Lori has a page right here to make it a little bit easier for everybody. You should have a hard copy of what it was last year. And that document is on 4, 5, 6, 7, page 8. It's 3085382 for a difference of 107,879,990. So that's on property tax. I'm sorry, yeah, property appraisals at the assessment level. How much we've grown in 12 months in 1 year. Is that said? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good amount, but
3%.
about 3% is what I calculated. Yeah, no. And then you look at your spreadsheet that Lori printed out for you. You also have the fire of what it is this year and what it was last year for a difference of 12,222,853. And remember, fire is broken into two different tax rates, or two different tax districts. You have the urban, and then you have the fringe. And for the fringe, it's 637, 128, 977 this year, for a difference of 18,471, 527. So I wanted you guys on the finance committee, as we get ready to go into the budget, to get an idea of how much. This is just property tax. It's not the only source of revenue. There are some funds, I believe, that are property tax only, but like the general fund has multiple revenue sources. But I think debt service comes to mind. It's the only property tax is the only one that funds that, except for the interest that it makes, stuff like that. So that should give you a kind of a good idea as far as how much we've grown in 1 year with respects to property tax. The other thing I want to point out is, and Stanley, is that all correct? Or
Yeah, that sounds right.
You see how he breaks it down. If you look at this page and you scroll down, it's got, Stanley, I don't know if you have this. I'm sorry.
I got one, but I don't know if it's matching up.
He has it broken down in between the real property, personal, the Office of State Assessment Properties, and all the pilots that we have entered into. If you go to, if you're still on page 4, and you go down to personal property and Office of State Assessment Properties, right here, right there, you'll see that ratio number, 0.7195. That's the famous ratio study. And this I was just talking to Representative Howell a few minutes ago. This tells you, or gives you a tangible look at exactly what's going on. You see right there, good one right there is the Office of State Assessment Properties. The total assessment, 73,694, 110. Then along comes the ratio of about 29%, and it knocks it down to 53,022, 912. So that is eating into our growth because of this ratio study that we've talked about for the last 3 or 4 years. And you also see the ratio study is applied to personal property, and it goes from 254, 539, 300 down to 292, 055, 390. So I wanted you guys to see that ratio study is still in effect, and it's still hurting. Is that the right word?
Yeah. The discount is still.
It's still the discount. We had it last year, and that was the first year that the ratio study came out. So that ratio number stays in effect until it's done again, until you do your reappraisals.
Right.
And it goes back to 1. So I just wanted you guys to see that. Seeing is believing. You see the numbers. Yeah. That assessment is what the tax rate is based off of. When we set our tax rate, it multiplies the tax rate times that assessment. So obviously, if the assessment goes down, then the amount of revenue goes down. Wow. Mary, is there anything I missed on that? I'm trying to explain it best I can.
I don't think so. I think you got most all of it.
Yeah.
We kind of ran the actual tax dollars. Last year was like 1.16 million that we lost from the ratio. Then this year it's like 1.2 5 because of the ratio.
Right.
So then in 2 years, we've lost about $2.4 million because of that.
And that's on the county-wide fire tax for those also are affected by that as well.
I just did the base county rate, what we figured.
Yeah. And obviously the city has the same issue.
Yes.
Just an update, we did ask the General Assembly in this past session to address this issue. I've talked numerous times with Gabe at the CTAS, who's kind of the specialist for the assessors. And from what I understand, Comptroller Mumpower testified before a couple of committees that he was in support of if a county chose to, and it made sense for a county to decrease the frequency of when they do the reappraisals, we could do it. But it did not go anywhere on the House side. The Senate, I believe, passed it, but the House did not. And they just had misinformation among us.
Yeah, I think.
So we'll see if they'll take it up next year. But you start your reappraisals
we're
here pretty
working-
soon,
we
right?
Started, we started now.
You've already started?
Working on it, yeah, for
So that'll get it back to 1 once he's finished. I think you told me, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, that right now our tax rate is $1.43, 1.4392. And you said that with the appraisals that you're looking at, it's going to drop quite a bit down to,
Yeah, it'll drop. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to drop significantly based on what the values have increased in the last 3 years now from 2021. I'm not going to throw a number out there. because I don't know
yeah,
yet, but I
well,
know
yeah,
it- I
because
know the
you'll have
values are
you'll have
gonna
1,000
go up.
phone calls a second
If you look at the surrounding counties that have just went through reappraisals.
is his mic on? I can barely hear him.
I don't know, maybe my voice.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's me. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, the counties that have just reappraised in 2024 had significant.
Right.
That's statewide.
And if memory serves, when the last time we had to justify the tax rate, the certified tax rate, it went from $1.78 down to $1.43.
Yeah.
And that's an indicator of how much the ratio is going to be, because that tells you that the appraisals are at a certain level and the market value is out of sync, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, this is information as we go into the budget. Another year where we quote unquote have lost growth because our friends up in Nashville didn't change anything for us. And
Right.
so anyway, Commissioner Alford, please.
Did I understand you correctly that you said they said we couldn't go down numbers of people on the ratio? I mean, in other words, and or drop down to, say, to a ratio every 2 years?
Yeah, we're still, the minimum you can do is 4 years is what we do.
Yeah, the right now the reappraisal cycles, it's 4, 5, and 6 year. And I think the law that was proposed would have changed that to a 2, 3, and 4 year cycle. We're on a 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
Most counties are on a 5-year cycle, so they actually get 2 ratios in between. So they would be getting hit twice on those counties. So we went to a 4, and that's when I went to a 4. That was one of the things that I put into consideration. We'd save 1 year of another ratio, but now we're looking. The only way to fix this now is if we went to a 2. I hate to say even a 1 year cycle. So,
But the state will allow you to go to a 2-year cycle?
I believe you have to present your plan. You have to have a really good plan and go before the State Board of Equalization. The law doesn't say that, but I think that you went now and you had a really good plan, you probably could change to it too. But that's up to the State Board of Equalization.
If I remember right, listening to you before on some other meetings, that you said if we went to a 2-year, we probably would have to hire 1 or 2 people.
Yes, just to, when we got down to it, I know our budget would increase. We spoke about other technology wise. We do our aerial flyovers now about every 4 years, and if you were doing this, we do a lot of our review from those flyovers. We're not out hitting every home like we used to in the old days. It's not feasible, to be honest with you. But I would see that you would want to do a flyover every year, basically, so you can see what's going on. We'll still pick up. Still physically got to go out and pick up new homes. The old stuff just part of it, you know, doing the.
So if we went to a two-year cycle, looking at the amount of money we're giving the state now, I guess,
Yeah.
if we could afford to go on a two-year cycle, cause it would cut our ratio way back, wouldn't it?
Well, right now it would, and I think Mayor Davis has come up, you know, we've talked about this, that right now we're in the hold. Well, we ran a ratio last year. Again, me and Arnold did, and 2 years we dropped down to 29%, but then in the next year we're like 5 or 6%. That makes sense. So I think that our values here we had 2 years of just that crazy drop or increase, and now we've kind of went, and now we're starting to level back out. So next ratio could be 8%. Does that make sense? Go back to normal. Our values, I don't think our values are ever going to lower. We've already set the high mark.
Say you were at 8%, then how much money is the ratio gonna cost us?
Well,
Rough-
we're at
rough
29,
figure.
so it'd be a third of what we're losing now. I'm just, you know, roughly.
Right.
So
Look,
would we want to do a 2 year?
I guess the
But
point
the
I'm trying to
appraisals
make
will go up,
is,
so the amount you lose would go up as well.
Well, say that again, Miles.
That's all right, go ahead.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is it affordable for us to go to a two-year plan and try to hire somebody to do this ratio study that would save money? In the long run, we'd be making more money than we are right now, and we're losing money right now with the ratio.
Yeah. Yes, we would. But you know, that's kind of like right now we're losing over $1 million a year, but in the future it may not be $1 million a year. That's just
And
something we can't.
That's the $64,000 question, as the saying goes. Mayor Davis would argue, I'm going to speak for you for a second, that you have two bad ratios and now you want to change it. All I'm saying is let the counties make the decision. We can do our homework, and if it's worthwhile to stay at 4, we'll stay at 4. But let us decide. We know our numbers better than the state does. If it makes sense for us to go to 2 and we can justify, like you said, and we know kind of what's going on, then we will move. But I just want the counties to be able to make that decision, and other counties, you know, the other 94 counties, the few that I've chatted with, would also like to make that decision. We probably would stay at 4, you know, and take the hit, so to speak. But we would make that decision. That's all I'm saying is let the state should let us make that decision. Because the mayor makes an excellent point. We've had 2 bad ones, and we're plateauing off, but we're plateauing off at a pretty bad spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we don't stay at 30. But this is all driven by the appraisal that you have versus the market of how,
Yes.
you know, so every time you see a house or a parcel that sells for astronomical versus what it's appraised for, that's what causes the ratio.
Yes.
A $275,000 house that sells for $500,000 causes, and we see that every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, a lot. You have a report that shows that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I just wanted you to see this, well, where we were from a year. We do this every May with respects to the property tax. How much is assessment? You have the reports right here. Lori printed out the differences, but it's about 3% growth.
Yes.
Again, this is just property tax. And also point out that the ratio study is still in effect. All right?
Yeah. The rate, you know, you mentioned that this year that it failed, but I've heard that it will come back up next year to go to a 2, 3, and 4
Yeah,
cycle. That's going to come back up, but there's you know, what I'm understanding, their heads are buttoned over there in Nashville. One group is looking at you've heard of the tax cap. There's a law that says it's going to cap local taxes, but they're not telling you that included with that is basically what's going on in California. It's Proposition 13.
yes.
It does cap how much you can increase, I guess, the local tax, but they're not telling you the other part. It's basically a version of Proposition 13 in California, basically saying what you pay for the house is what you're appraised at, which sounds great, except for, let's say me and Milo live in the same house in the same neighborhood, and I've lived there 20 years, and I'm still paying on $100,000, and then Milo sells his to a young couple for $1 million. They're going to pay taxes on $1 million on the same house, and I'm paying taxes on $100,000. that's just not fair, equitable right there.
Right, and I think the mayor said it best the day that we kind of did that, that presentation you gave me a D on, that, well, I'll do a better job next time, but it's not a sales tax. It's not at the transaction, whatever. And the other thing I'll say, I'll probably get in trouble for this, is why do we want to mimic anything California does?
I have no idea.
Even though my
I think
son
that,
loves-
I think what's selling it is the part that says we'll cap.
Yeah, the
amount of
consistency
tax.
piece of it.
And that sounds good, and I think if it went before the voters, and it says, you're only gonna see, you can only see a 3% increase in a year compared to now you're 25%, or, your assessment, 25, that it would pass.
Yeah,
Just
but
because it's not giving all the detail.
but you take those parcels that are owned by a trust company or foundation or something like that. They never buy or sell. They just inherit it and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. There's
Right.
lots of problems with that.
Yep.
Thank you, Stanley. I
All right.
appreciate your time.
All right, and I just came in on the end of the baseball stuff, Mr. Winters. I think I'm there more than you are.
Oh, that's right. You
And
got
I know how much money I spend
Yeah,
in
you're
Dalton.
right. You are
Honestly,
there.
I'm helping you out here. How much I spend in Dalton, Georgia, and
Yeah.
believe it or not, you go to Athens and they've got turf fields in Athens
They do.
that we play
Yeah.
rain or shine on.
We just came back from Boaz, Alabama.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Oh, yes.
I know.
Boy, I
I've
didn't
been
know it.
everywhere, man.
All right. Continue.
Anyway, there you go.
Thank you, Stanley.
All right.
All right. So that handles that piece there of the agenda, and go back up to top of there. If anybody has anything on those two items, speak now. So now we'll go into the budget amendments. The first budget amendment, as you can see, there's a correction that Susan sent over. Replaces page 2 and 3. Lori went ahead and printed that out, a hard copy for you. Susan, this is where she is, the Pi Center Fund 145 true up of accounts for fiscal 24. And I'll just use the high numbers here, $226,276.28. She's increasing her revenue and she's increasing her expenses. So she's itemized where the money's going to go. And you see that the school board has already approved this. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. All right, that's the corrected one. Now we can go to the tablet here. Bradley County Schools, and she is decreasing revenue. I'm sorry, she is increasing revenue $875,323.69, and she's increasing her expenses accordingly. Funds transferred to 177 for future capital building projects. Funds transferred to 177 Bradley County entrance vestibule for capital outlay. Those two projects, I believe, have already been approved by the school board, right? So she's moving the money for that. So I have a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Moving on to the next budget amendment, and you can see the supporting documentation right there. Bradley County Schools, $276,800. She is decreasing. And what does it say? I assume it's revenue. No.
This is just a true up for our salary adjustment, so there shouldn't have been any new money,
Okay.
just movement.
And 141, okay. Excuse me, sorry. At Fund 141, and there you had 278,800 increase in the expenses, and she's itemized where it's all going right there. Right? Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. And there's, sorry, the next page was the description, sorry.
That's okay.
And there's the supporting documentation. Now that takes us to page 9, Bradley County Schools, still on 141, increase in revenue of 4,400, increase in expenses, and it's going to other supplies and materials. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Is on require revenues. Good job. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so no, 4-0. And there's your supporting documentation. Next, we go to Bradley County Schools, 141, 23, decrease in the undesignated fund balance of $23,115.15. Increase in expenses. This is for the nursing 10 care to pay the stipends and move nursing 10 care monies back to GPS budget for supplies. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Winters? I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. And there you have the supporting documentation. Next, we get into Bradley County Schools, still in 141, $218,165.47. Again, decrease in undesignated fund balance, and it is going into, where's your description there? There's quite a bit of money. Special education 10 care monies back to GPS budget. And she's got it all nice and neat and itemized for us.
And if I could just chime in.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
This one and the previous one, it looks like it's coming out of fund balance, but that's only because it was in a reserve. It was not like new fund balance money being used. It was money that was reserved at the end of last year that is being pulled out so they could spend it.
All right, so reserves means it can only be spent for this purpose. Right. All right. So. And that goes all the way to page 14. So, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. Scrolling on down, there's the supporting documentation. And we get to, we're still on 141. $619,284.63 is increasing her revenue and increasing her expenses. This is, where's the description? I remember learning camps for 24 summer learning camps and transportation. So this is a grant, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, state money.
State
yes.
money, yeah. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. And there's the supporting documentation and the signatures.
That's one question.
Oh, Commissioner Winters, please.
Tell us about the summer learning camp. Is that helping students that had problems with third grade?
It is. I don't know an awful lot about it.
Yeah.
I just know that I think it's mandated by the state, but they are sending money to cover it. So
Right.
when we amend that in, we're changing the revenue, but also the expenditures. The bad part about this one is, I believe it's elective for parents to let their kids come. So I feel like it skews our budget a little bit because we have to put it all in,
Yeah.
but we don't use it all, so we have to pay it back. So it gives a little
Wow.
bit of a
You send it,
overestimation.
you send
of
it
our
back to the
budget.
state, right?
Yes, we
Oh.
do.
You have any idea how many students will participate yet?
You know, I want to say we've been using about half of what the state is giving us. We put it out there for all
Right.
of the ones that are eligible to go,
Right.
but ultimately the parents, I think, have a say in if their kids go to summer school or not.
So if students don't go to this camp and they still didn't pass third grade, they have to go back to third grade? Or this
I'm
is
afraid to speak to that. I'm
it's a
really not
decision by the school.
instructionally minded enough to
Yeah.
tell you exactly the
Yeah.
rules and
Right.
regs on that.
Right.
But there are lots of hoops we have to jump
Yeah.
through. I will tell you that. Dr.
Thanks.
Cash could tell you all about that one. I'm
you.
sorry.
Oh, that's no problem.
All right. Next budget amendment is $875,323.69. Decrease in expenses, increase in revenue, increase in expenses. Make up that, get that total 875 right there, 323.69.
And that is the flip side of page 4. So
Yep.
page 4 is when it went into 177. Page 19 is where it's coming out of 141.
So basically from one fund to another. All right, 141 to 177. All right, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. And continuing on, this is your big day for, and I believe that is all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, this is the trustees amendment that we promised for $1,560, a decrease in expenses, increase expenses. So basically, we're sending it over from our account over to his loan. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Moving on to the next budget amendment, Parks and 2,500 increase in revenue, increase in expenses, so it's money coming in. This is donation for the famous disc golf.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? Sorry. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Then, oh, please.
It's still in the building process, expecting to do concrete T-pads this month. So it's still on track to be done early summer.
Adam, are these sponsors? So the Lee University and, am I saying it right, Lotus? Will they have a sign acknowledging their sponsorship or something out there?
Yes, so they're whole
Sure.
sponsorships, and they'll be recognized on the sign at each of the holes, each of the tees.
Very good. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please.
Off the subject just a little. I was out by the park the other day. When Miss brought up that BMX deal, they have a nice big awning there. When did that get built, or who built it, or cost, or where'd that come from?
BMX track?
Yes, sir.
It's been there a while, so I don't know. You talking about the roof over the end where they start off? And we were putting a new roof on it too, I believe. I don't know to answer your question. It's been there a little while though. It was one of the improvements made, but I don't know how long ago that would have been. I don't know what to tell you because I'll tell you wrong, but they've always been a very quiet group that raises money and makes those improvements. You don't hear a lot about them. The only reason you hear about them now is we've been asked to do some things to get this national tournament that she was referring to. They asked for some paving and some more things, but that's why I don't remember exactly. I don't know.
Looks fairly expensive. That's why I
Yeah.
was asking the question. That really looked like nice wood and stuff, $5 stuff. That's why I was asking the question.
I don't know the when or who, if that's what you're saying though.
Mr. Adams, you know anything referencing this? Did it come out of the recreation budget, or
See,
does anybody know?
some things they do out of the budget, but a lot of it's done by the BMX people. That's what I'm saying. They're all the time raising money and making improvements. So I don't remember which, or if it was a combination on that one.
Could we get something from recreation to find out about that, Travis, if we could?
So the question is, when was the roof put up and who
It's a
paid
whole-
for
and
it?
that's not just a roof, it's a whole pavilion.
It's the gate, the start-off gate area you're talking
Yeah,
about,
it's
I
a
believe.
big pavilion over that whole area. Not a solid building, it's just a big awning. Probably 30, 40, 50 feet long.
We'll find out and let you know.
I'd appreciate it, thank you.
Please. Adam, real quick, one question. These sponsorships, how long do they last? Do they have to re-up annually, or are they, I'm trying to get the terms.
The language that's on the agreement says the lifetime of the course.
Lifetime of the course. So the first 18 are the ones who get it, unless you do multiple sponsors for holes, or?
That's correct.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? You have a question? Or you're making, we already got a motion and a second. Now we just vote. Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Moving on to the next one, and $4,000, and I guess that is decreasing expenses and increasing his expenses.
Hey,
He's moving
Marlon,
from one, he's moving from one line to another,
If-
$4,000.
if you wanted to, you can go through each one of them, but the next four are doing that. They're taking money from various lines and putting it in a line where they need more money for referees and umpires.
Oh, okay.
So you're gonna be
yeah.
repeating yourself. You could just do them all at once. All four of them are various lines doing that.
All right, so we're on page 28, and we're going to go through, because Lori and I went through these the other day. 29, 30,
And 31.
and 31. They're all internal to the same account. They're just moving from line to line. All right, so those four amendments right there we'll take as a package deal. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Mason. We have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. That takes us to page 32. Thank you, Mayor. Adult Veterans Court, Amanda, she is increasing her revenue by 14,000, and she's expensing it, and you can see where she's itemized it in her lines. So I have a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. There you see 4-0, one absent. There you see the contract and all the supporting documentation. Staying on Adult Recovery Court, $6,499. If you give her an extra dollar, she'd have $6,500. She's increasing her revenue and she's increasing her expenses, and there she itemizes it all in contract services. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason? I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Moving on, there you see the contract right there and supporting documentation for the grant. Staying in Adult Recovery Court, $30,000, and it is going into case coordinator. That's a salary line, and decrease in expenses. Oh, I see.
Decrease.
So she's taking money out of a salary line to move over to contracted services. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason and a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. Mayor, we can assume that when she's moving 30,000 out of 135 case coordinator, she's got enough to cover whatever payment pay she has to the end of the.
Yeah, and that one, I think the position, it was originally budgeted all there, but it's being paid out of difference. These grants are combined, and I think that position is in several different grants.
Thank you. Staying with Adult Recovery Court, 9,000, decrease in expenses, and you see the lines right there, staying in the same account, and she's moving it to contracted services. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Sticking with, that puts us at page 40, right, Lori? Okay. Adult Recovery Court, also 9,000, decreasing. We just did that one?
What's
yeah,
the 39 and 40 is a duplicate, aren't they?
Yeah. We,
So
we,
kick
we ran
40
it
out.
we ran it the other day. And we're going to see it again. We're going to, Adult Mental Health Court, 22,000, decrease in expenses. And increase in expenses is going into 20439 for 22,000. Very good. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, and one absent. And there's your dupe. They didn't just dupe one time; they duped twice. All right, then we get into page 43, Bradley County EMS, $178, decrease in expenses. And moving it over to 511, vehicle insurance. Request money, budget requiring remainder of the fiscal year by $178.
Well, the next three are doing that, again, from
Oh,
various
okay,
lines.
so it's a total of what, all right. So we'll take the next three pages, 43, 44, and 45 as a package, because they're all doing pretty much the same thing in 511 in the EMS budget. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters to accept the amendment as presented. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. That takes us to page 46 and decreasing $29,491.65. And $25,000 is going into drugs and medical supply, and $3,991.65 is going to vehicle equipment insurance. So, did the insurance go up? Or did we get a new vehicle, or they changed the premium?
I don't know if it went up or it went up after the budget was done, I believe, last year. VFIS is a little different on their timing. This is VFIS. Right, Adam, they're VFIS out there.
All right.
Their due date's different. I think it might have gone up some, like they always do, but it was after budget.
And then $25,500 for drugs and medical supplies. That's cost of doing business.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And they're moving it from their gasoline, so we must be doing well on gasoline. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. And that takes us down to page 48, still with Bradley County EMS, decreasing expenses by $11,787, debt collection services. And it's moving it over to communication and maintenance and repair. And travel by $300, and vehicle and equipment insurance, another $3,000. And we're all within the same account.
Just, these are,
So this is, I guess,
these are helping our end of the year amendments tremendously. They're kind of catching up right now as they know it.
yeah. So travel though, they have to $390 anyway. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. That takes us down to page 50. Election Commission. She is decreasing her expenses by $2,100 and increasing her $599. Moving money into needed lines for during the end of the year. And she's staying within her account. So I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Going to page 51, also in Election Commission, she is decreasing her expenses, $334.92. She's moving from data processing over to other charges. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Staying with election commissions on page 52, decreasing $969.18 from liability insurance, and sending it over to printing, stationery, and forms. And she's within their account. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. All right, staying with election commissions on page 53, $487.82, decrease in liability insurance, increase in expenses, office supplies, and it's the same description. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters, and I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. All right, now we get into, oh, you see a little different look and feel with these forms because they changed it. Page 54. Decreasing, I have to, in my mind, get used to seeing it a certain way, don't you? $200 decrease in expenses, increase in expenses by the same amount, and he's moving from office supplies to tuition. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Then we get into Ms. Hewitt, 5,000 increase in expenses and decrease in expenses. So she's moving money from one line to another. She's basically travel for $5,000 from other contracted services. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. That's somebody was walking in. Staying with Ms. Hewitt, $2,000 increase in expenses and the other charges, her $599, and decreasing out of $399. Other contracted services of $2,000. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, one absent. Now we get into the Bradley County Fire and Rescue. Chief Stewart, he is increasing his fund balance.
That should be his increasing revenue.
He's increasing his revenue by $150 because he had a donation, and he is putting it in other supplies. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. We appreciate the donation from Mrs. Gilbert. All right, scrolling on down. Staying in the Bradley County Fire and Rescue, he is increasing
It's revenue again.
his revenue by $1,000, and he is increasing the expenses and maintenance from rare vehicles. It's a refund check, right? Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with one absent. And there's the claims from BFIS. BFIS. Then we get into Sessions Judge Clay Collins. He's decreasing the expenses out of tuition, increasing expenses in 162 of $225. I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner
No.
Alford. Commissioner Alford. I did.
And it's the next 6 amendments that do that.
As long as they don't go, my feeling is as long as they don't go over their account and $225.
Yeah, you total them all up, the next 6.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry then. We'll take these as a package. So pages 62, 63, 64, 65.
Probably comes to $1,000.
66, 67, 68. Is it? Thank you. All right, so we'll go up to page 67. So basically, it looks like he's got some lines that he can move some money and he wants to do this. But we'll make a note in the budget. All right, do I have a motion? We're going to go up to page 67. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. That takes us to page 68, which is a bit different. He is decreasing expenses on travel by $135.18, and he is putting in office supplies. So there's apparently one line that he needs a little extra. We have a motion from Commissioner Winters. We have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. Brother County Sheriff's Office, $2,500 increase in revenue, increase in expenses, and she's putting it in the other supplies and materials, $499. This is a donation, and you see the right there where it's coming from. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. And we thank the Lynn Jones Foundation for their donation. Brother County Sheriff's Office, page 71. Increase in revenue and increase in expenses going into the same line for $95.75. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. And we appreciate the donation from Kona. Is it Kona? Kona?
Kona.
I don't speak Hawaiian. Kona Ice? Anyway, thank you. Brother County Sheriff's Office on page 73, $50,000 increase in revenue, increase in expenses. All of it's going into data processing equipment. This is from their tech grant that they talked about for the JMS software. All right. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. And there's the check.
The rest of them are service charges.
Services rendered, and there's no amendments after services rendered, right? All right, so we'll take up page 75 all the way to the end. Services rendered, and Lori and I looked through these the other day. Pretty standard where she's putting all her extra money. Do I have a motion to accept the amendments as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0, 1 absent. That should take care of all the amendments. I take that back, Mayor. You had an extra one from the road department?
Yeah, the road department one should be in front of you that needs to be added to the packet. And all it's doing is showing the increased fund balance at the beginning of this year. He had under projected the fund balance at budget time. Auditors wanted it to be noted in your minutes.
So we'll vote that in, which puts it into the minutes. Let me take a look. Increasing the fund balance by $991,411, beginning fund equity. But that's not the account for fund balance, is it? I thought it was 37. Anyway, you guys in the accounting world. Oh, this goes back all the way to the 23-24 budget with significantly higher estimated fund balance of 2000. Our auditors have asked us to present this budget amendment to record into the minutes. No officer. So they're not putting anything in any lines. They're just recognizing the revenue and they're not spending it. Very good. All right. Huh? Yeah. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. That should take care of all the amendments, Mayor. Now we'll go back to the agenda. And, all right, the resolution supporting Hopewell School expansion project, page 2 and 3. This is the resolution that we've been working on for about a month or so. We fine-tuned it here and there. There's multiple pieces to this, and we can go over bit by bit if you would like. But basically, remember when Dr. Cash was here and she presented her plan for expansions, they asked us to consider taking on Hopewell. We toured Hopewell, and this $15,100,000 is what this resolution will appropriate. You guys want to read it, or how you want to, or have you had a chance to read it already? Commissioner Alford, Commissioner Mason, Commissioner Winters? All right. Well, that's the gist of it, is that we're going to commit to $15,100,000. The mayor is going to work with Susan over the timing, that she needs it to pay the bill, so to speak, kind of like what we did with Lake Forest. That seems to be a model that works. And this is going to be paid out of Fund 189. So my concern, I appreciate the mayor working with me on this, is that a little bit, and you'll see the paragraph there, be it further resolved that a minimum of $150,000 each year shall be retained in Fund 189 for other things. So in other words, we still have other things in the government that we got to fund capital projects with. Keep in mind that art money is going away. This August is pretty much the last part of that. Not the last of spending the money, but it's the last of appropriating it. So we've been, over the last couple of years, buying a lot of capital project stuff with art money. So I think it just makes sense. The mayor agrees that we set a little bit aside for other stuff, because other stuff's going to come up. It also has in here that the Bradley County School Board will take on the expansion of the 2 elementary schools and the Bradley Central High School Science Wing as the time dictates, because they have to be awarded the grant on the science wing. So that's the resolution that's been requested. Finance has taken it up and put together a package. So, well, before we get into discussion, I'll get a motion in a second, and then we'll chat about it. Right? We have a motion from Commissioner.
Oh.
You're not making a motion. You're gonna make a motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Winters. Sorry. Commissioner Mason. We have a second from Commissioner Mason. So we go into discussion. Open floor. Commissioner Alford, Commissioner Winters, Commissioner Mason, Mayor Davis. Your thoughts before we go to a vote?
I thought we had corrected it, but that heading still has the wrong budget year in there. With funding to commits in fiscal year 25-26, and it's really fiscal year 24-25.
I thought we did too.
Yeah, I mean, it says in there that it's no earlier than January of 25, but that is 24-25 years, so.
Yeah, so Lori, can we make that correction? I thought that was one of the first corrections we made.
Mhm.
Mr. Alford?
Is this all coming out of capital funds?
Hmm.
How much do we have in that right now, Mary?
We got the report.
They're gonna drain it.
We got the report on Friday. I know you don't like this, but it's a good report. I don't mean that disrespectfully. But Fund 189, you can look at the trustees report, and it gives you a pretty good idea because it works a little bit different than general fund. But it's a little over $7 million right now at the end of this budget year. And then obviously we'll budget for the 24-25 about the same as we did this year, the same number of pennies. By the way, back to Stanley, did you guys notice that when that goes up, that appraisals, the value of a penny goes up? It went up as well. Anyway, so this means that the 15 million will only go towards Hopewell Elementary. There's no splitting.
Are
You look
waiting-
like you got
waiting
something to
on
say,
me
and I
were
wanna
you
hear it.
waiting on me to say something?
I want you to say something.
You know what I would act like to ask, but I'm not going to.
Or speak now, forever. You're amongst friends. Yeah.
Well, I guess Susan's gonna take the brunt of it then, since Miss Casey isn't here. Has there been any discussion on the board about outside zone kids coming to Hopewell on this project? I can't get an answer, can I?
No, I guess not.
Well, I just kind of look at this $15 million to add on to Hopewell. What are we adding? Are we adding on future growth, or are we adding on growth that's already there, that's all this influx of outsiders coming in, or what's the motive behind it? Yes.
So I get what you're saying. I know Commissioner Thompson the other day asked for some numbers, and I guess they're working on that.
It's been 2
But-
weeks now, we still haven't got the numbers.
But parts that I do know is that the county's growing as well. And they're going to use theirs. I say theirs, it's all taxpayer money. I get that. For the 2 other expansions in the science wing. So we get a lot of expansion, for basically 15 million. That's the way I
would
look at
agree
it.
with you.
And,
I
but the
have-
county,
I have no problem with it. I have a problem with who are we building it for?
I think, and that's the $64,000 question. But we know that the county, we saw during the budget hearings, Mr. Wilson, Ron Wilson's building permits for the county, they're going up quite a bit. I think school board, I'm not asking Susan, she's the CFO, not the school. They're going to have to figure out the rezoning piece of this as they expand certain schools. I mean, as certain schools grow, they're going to have to rezone schools.
I like the fact that this is a new bond issue. We can do this within the monies that are parts of the.
Yeah, we're not bonding. We're not going in debt for this.
So with
I'm not
that,
questioning you. We
Yeah.
got the money.
no, I'm not saying that. That's my part of the conversation. That I think that's a good move. Be able to do it this.
Well, that's a good point, Commissioner Winters. Mayor, it's not been too often that I can remember where we've been able to pay something this large of an amount. As the saying goes, cash on the barrelhead. I mean, we've been saving up in 189 for a couple of years to be able to do this. Well, you guys are quiet. I bet you if I make you stay here an extra hour, you'll talk. Just kidding. All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. The way, send this to a work session, and then put it on the May 20th voting session is kind of the idea here.
They'll be going to the work session the same day that schools will be here for their budget hearing anyway.
So you'll be able to ask
You
Dr.
should get
Cash.
you should get their budget Friday, and we'll get it Friday, pass it on to you Friday, and then Monday, don't forget, that's your budget hearing for schools.
Yeah.
So it would sort of be this
So-
also.
So Lori, can you put this on, Chairman Crive, doesn't mind, on the work session agenda, kind of in sync with the school's budget hearing for, what would be, that be next Monday?
Yeah.
The 13th?
And
then-
remember, it's a hearing, and they're not approving anything. 1 year you
Yeah.
voted to approve.
And this will just be for discussion for the county full commission on this resolution, but it'll come out of finance with a recommendation. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Mason? Aye, aye, aye. Commissioner Alford? There's no such thing. All right, 4-0-1 absent. All right, back to our our agenda. And last but not least, let's see if
I'm just concerned with the funding and the timeline, and I won't be here Monday whenever you all talk about it, but keep in mind, it is a 4-year program that we're working with schools on. If you approve this, it's over 4 years, and we will be paying an amount each year, 3 phases, but it's 4 years. And yes, it all will be paid out of 189. My big concern is, can we pay it out of 189 and not have a tax increase? And yes, we can. So that's the most important thing. I'll leave it up to you all to justify if you're doing it for city kids or county kids, as I know is concern of some. Some would argue they're all county kids, but we're doing additions. Are we doing additions because we're full and overflowing of outside city kids or otherwise? And that's your all's concern. Mine is the timeline and that we can pay for it without a tax increase.
and we got that part.
Right. That part, the 4 years is key. It will be a variable amount each year, and we are retaining the 150 in next year's budget that's
Minimum.
requested.
You can always do more.
At the first couple of years, it'll probably be a little more. That third and fourth year, it may not be more, but it works over the 4-year period. I can tell you that.
Please.
All of us walked through the buildings, particularly Hopewell, and we saw the kids, and we saw how crowded that school is, and that's what we're talking about here. The kids that are in that building, not the kids that are going to be coming next year and 2 years down the road, but those are kids that are going to be there. And any growth that we're going to have, you drive up 60 Highway, you drive up Freewell Road, you're going to see more kids and more kids and more kids, county kids. Of course, I represent a city district, as you know, in the county. We're county taxpayers. And there's always been the position that city kids can come to a county school. Our state senator bragged about that about a month and a half ago, how great it is that there's open enrollment here. So that's a separate issue than the overcrowded condition at Hopewell and all these other schools that we're looking at. So I commend the school board. I commend all those that have been looking at this and looking at a way that we can do it without raising taxes.
And Susan, I hate to put you on the spot, but there are capital projects that the school board has already agreed on, for them, in principle at least, right? Right. One of them, I think, is the Cody Middle that has to be done. We saw the Bradley High School. I talked to Dr. Cash, I believe, the locker room for the boys' baseball something out there is also being appropriated as well. So, anyway, the track is in this resolution. The resolution you just voted on. So the mayor will work with them on the timing of that piece as well. It's not as high a priority as Hopewell, but it's in there in writing, which is what they asked for. All right. Go on. Sorry? Oh, you're reading. Okay. Item D, the budget calendar. Our next meeting, this is the one where we changed a little bit. It helps the mayor and Renee and Caleb if we get that on Friday, they can get their work done, instead of having that Monday crash where we approve amendments. So we agreed to have Finance Committee meet on Friday, the last Friday of May, which I think works out well, Mayor, right? Allows, we get the amendments passed and you guys can do your stuff that Friday night or Friday afternoon or the weekend and have it ready by that Monday. But it says at noon, and I need to move that just a tad earlier because I gotta get down to Atlanta. Yeah, I'm singing the national anthem at the Braves game.
We get a bus.
Yeah,
See you.
I'm sure you guys will be paying attention. So if we can move it to 11 o'clock, that'll help me. The bus leaves at 2. So we'll switch that to 11 o'clock. Other than that, all right. Yeah, please.
I was just reading that. Long completion well project. How long is that project? 4 years?
Well, it's-
So in other words, look at the resolution. 4 years before the track gets built. Is that the way I read this resolution?
the Hopewell project upon completion of it, but if it's sooner, then the Hopewell, the track gets in, but it's in writing. It's the first time it's been in writing. That's the way I look at
Not
it.
been
I'm
writing,
trying
you've
to,
got
I'm
to
trying
wait
to,
4 more
I'm-
years.
I'm looking for silver linings.
My question again is,
Yeah, to answer your question is, yeah, that's the way it looks like. Yeah. All right, back to our agenda, other business, anything for this committee? There none, and is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the committee? We have 2 of our famous. Ms. Gleason, no? All right. That concludes everything. There's nothing else. Then we are adjourned. Thank you guys very much.